Prepare to launch in 3, 2, 1.
All right. Hello. Welcome. This is another ComixLaunch stream. Tyler James here. I've got my good pal, Rob Multari, in the background. He's going to be hanging out. We'll bring him on in just a second. But we've got a fun discussion queued up. We're talking about Backerkit's holiday market, and we're going to get into sort of tools and platforms and places to be selling your comics and other stuff. So if you're hanging with us, if you're catching the replay, definitely chime in. Let us know you're out there. I want to do a couple of quick hit news items before we bring Rob on, just to get people out there in comics crowdfunding Kickstarter world up to date on a few things. So the first thing is, hopefully you saw this, that the Kickstarter strike is over. The Kickstarter United crew was able to come to what they're calling a successful and prevailing resolution to their 42-day strike. So they actually stayed down for or stayed shut down for a little bit longer than the government was shut down, interestingly enough. But after 7 months of bargaining beforehand and then 42 days of strike, they got some protections for their 4-day work week. They got some improvement in salary floors and ceilings, and some interesting protections put in place for their workers with the rise of generative AI. So I think that's going to be kind of an interesting just industry, and in the world of tech workers and knowledge workers, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not some of the things that they've carved out becomes a broader must-have for knowledge workers in all sorts of different sectors. So I think it's kind of interesting how some of that stuff came out. But hopefully for the creators out there like us, this means that Kickstarter will be fully operational and you'll get support, all your support tickets returned, and they'll have Kickstarter projects we love will be at full capacity. It was interesting. I noticed Kevin Laporte, who does the comics crowd, he did some analysis of projects we love over the past month, and found that, and then it compared it to projects we love from about a year ago. And over the past month, only about 8% of live projects had the project we love tag, whereas a year ago, at around the same time, 15% of the projects got the projects we love tag. And so I have no, it could be that the project's quality was down this month, or it could be that there were just less people looking for cool projects. But it'll be interesting to see if that number varies going forward now that they're back to fully operational. A couple other things I just wanted to call out, something I noticed recently and I wanted to share with y'all. A trusted vendor in the comics crowdfunding space, Gemini Comic Supply. They are now offering Kickstarter fulfillment services for independent creators. Gemini has been a sponsor of the ComixLaunch podcast since the very beginning. In fact, there's a discount code ComixLaunch if you use that you can save on all of your Gemini flash mailers. So if you've ever, shipped with one of these bad boys, it's probably a Gemini mailer. And that's one of the best ways to ship your comics, to make sure that they don't get damaged in transit. But I was talking to Brian over at Gemini recently because I noticed that they had added fulfillment services to their suite of things that they offer. And one of the cool things about this potential option, or something that I'm optimistic about, is that they really do know the collector's space. So they know how a comic should be bagged, boarded, and shipped. And I guess one benefit of working with them is that they already have all of the bags, all of the boards, all of the comic flash mailers in stock, and they sort of include that in with their sort of per unit fulfillment costs. So anyway, I've had some conversations, and we'll be getting more details about this service, which they only just started offering this year. But for those of us that are trying to take some of the fulfillment just burden off ourselves, this could be a good option for you going forward. Also did want to just give quick shout outs to Comics Tribe related projects. The Grogor and Shanks PDFs just went out to our backers. So if you backed this fantasy mystery from John Lees and Joel Mulvey, two of my really good friends in this world of comics, they've created a great book. I just compiled the PDF for everybody, and it's a gorgeous 64 pages. It includes 2 feature-length comic stories as well as 2 awesome prose stories from John. It's a great collection. It's going off to print today, and hopefully the print versions will be out to backers very shortly. And then another recent Comics Tribe project was the Sync Halloween special. And this one wrapped a couple weeks ago. And we have already sent out the shipping surveys on Backerkit. So if you happen to back either of these projects, make sure your surveys are all filled out. If you missed them, you can always late pledge and get them fulfilled with everything else. We've got a Backerkit store up and running now for the Sync special. And so there's that. All right. Without further ado, though, I'm going to bring on my guest here. He's been waiting patiently in the background, and we're going to get into it today. My guest is a friend of the show, returning guest, frequent guest, but it's been a while since we've chatted. He's the founder of Lone Wolf Comics. That includes the Night Wolf series, the spinoff series Snowpaw, as well as his Wolfpack Pups children's book spinoff venture. He's a graphic designer. He's a website guru. He's the co-host of the Of Mice and Wolves YouTube show with JD Calderon. It's Rob Multari. He's back on the podcast. How you doing, Rob?
Good. How are you, Tyler?
Hanging in there, man. It's good to have you back. It's fun. Like you have a young daughter who's about the same age as my son, and has grown up with like the Seas for Cthulhu brand, and now with your Wolfpack Pups brand. But I don't know if you're feeling it every time like they get a haircut or do something. It's like, who is this young adult little person that's all of a sudden here? My boy just came back with a haircut, and I'm like, oh, look at you. You look like
I know. Yeah. I mean, Jovi's is growing by leaps and bounds. I mean, she's getting tall, and I'm also really feeling it because my oldest is now a senior, and tomorrow we're going for his college visit to Akron University.
Oh man. Yeah. That's real deal stuff right there.
Yeah. So yeah.
Well, good luck with navigating that. We'll talk about some more simpler stuff like selling comics and merchandise around the holidays here. But the focus of our conversation, you reached out, and this was a topic that I probably wanted to cover anyway. But is the Backerkit Holiday Market, which is a new initiative that Backerkit has launched. And so I'd love to hear from your perspective, sort of what is the Backerkit Holiday Market, and why was this something that you decided to participate in this year?
Right on. Yeah. So what's nice about this holiday market, it's not for new campaigns. It's not new products. This is something that you had to have a stock of products that you have already either crowdfunded or just have in general. I don't think there was any gatekeeping as far as like if you were a crowdfunder before or not, or whether you worked with Backerkit or not. It was basically anybody who had stock in the creative space to be able to have a holiday store just in time for the holidays. 'Cause you can basically, it ends December 1st. So that means you have, the rest of the month to get that in there for the holidays. So this was, I think, a great opportunity personally to get through some stock. And for those, anybody out there who missed any of the last campaigns I have been running for either the Wolfpack Pups, Night Wolf, or Snowpaw, it was perfect timing because I'm actually expecting to get a shipping notice for Snowpaw issue 4 from my printer, and that they should be in stock by next week, and I'll be starting fulfillment for that. So, I mean, it was great timing to be able to do that and to get in hands before Christmas for anybody who's out there looking to do some stocking stuffers or whatever,
Yeah. So, I mean, this is kind of an interesting thing that Backerkit is doing. And I think what's interesting about it is they recognize that they have a lot of crowdfunders now and people with a lot that have had traction like on Kickstarter or on their own platform. But I think what they recognized, or at least the theory or the hypothesis, was that a lot of these creators sort of haven't exactly been able to make a successful transition to their own online shops, or when they do have online shops, they just don't see the kind of buzz and excitement that they do during a Kickstarter campaign. And so or a crowdfunding campaign on Backerkit crowdfunding. And so the conceit here is like, hey, even though traditionally these platforms are used for the launch of new stuff and everything, what if we did a collective event on our platform that gave you all the same tools that you're used to using when you do a crowdfunding event, but allow it to just specifically sell the kind of stuff that might otherwise just be on your online store? And can we, do some of the incentives and cross promotions and things that have made some of their Topia events work, employ that in something like this and get creators making more sales during the holidays? Was that sort of how you're reading it? And
oh yeah, for sure.
What did you see as sort of like the advantages of like participating in this versus just focusing on a promotion on your online shop?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with everything you just said. And that was my thoughts exactly. Like, even, I do decent sales, on my website, not like gangbusters, mind you, but like even this, like for, I think on my Nightwolf or Lone Wolf Comics one, I think I have like 8 or 9 or at 10 backers, and I'm already almost at $700. That's more than I would make in a month from my own website. So I think that, like, being able to have this platform, people, that one, they already have accounts, they trust Backerkit, they trust Kickstarter. I think that's why it's one thing that, like, when people come with new projects, they're comfortable with backing these projects on these platforms. And to be able to do the same thing as far as like selling stock, it may not be as as widely backed, and as other campaigns, but like it's still something that, like, I think people are more comfortable with. They already have their accounts, they have their credit card information already saved in there, and they trust that, like, by backing through this website and instead of like somebody's random loan site. I mean, this is also like kind of like Amazon as a one-stop shop. You can go to all these different concurring campaigns, through this, and be able to, I like this. I like this. Oh, this guy's cross promoting with this guy. I'm going to go over here and get this as well. So I think there's so many reasons why this is a smart move for Backerkit to be able to do this. And it's also beneficial for all the creators on the platform. And it's smart for them as well that, like, there are a lot of Kickstarter only creators now doing this for the first time to kind of test out their platform. So I think, for them, it was a wise move, like as a, marketing ploy as well.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I think Backerkit has been pretty savvy in terms of recognizing that there's a lot of creators that probably aren't willing to go full on move from Kickstarter over to Backerkit, but if they can provide a couple of events or a couple of extra reasons for them to at least test the waters over there, if nothing else, it gets them more comfortable with just Backerkit tools. So they're checking out some of the other things that they offer, the marketing, the pledge managers, the pre-launch Backerkit launch stuff. And then also, I think probably one of the cool things for you is that, yes, it probably took some time, took a decent amount of time to port over all of your stuff from Kickstarter, but then Backerkit is also really good at like duplicating campaigns and holding all of those things. So once you set it up once, there's not, you have the ability to like do this again next year probably becomes a lot easier than it would be as just, starting things up from scratch. So,
oh yeah, and the team is very receptive. I mean, they're very hands-on. Like, I mean, I'm talking with them directly, like, and they get back to you rather quickly. And especially when it's coming to, like, questions you have about setting up or being able to import from previous pledge managers or whatever, or previous campaigns, like with the Wolfpack Pups, that saved me a ton of time because it was basically just shifting everything over and then just making the edits. Whereas like with the Lone Wolf Comics stuff, they're like, yeah, you have too much stuff. So I actually had to work on that one.
Yeah. And so this was an interesting choice because, you were like in for a penny, in for a pound. You decided like, hey, I'm going to do this, but I'm actually going to do it ×2. And you have separate shops for Wolfpack Pups, and then Lone Wolf Comics has one, because you're there's two different kind of audiences that you're kind of shooting out. One is the more, teen and up comics audience, and the other is the Wolfpack Pups audience, which skews younger, not the hardcore stereotypical comic fan, but more like parents and other folks that are grabbing plushies and a board book for their kids. Was that a hard decision to make? Did you, like, going into it, were you like, I have to do both, or are you just a glutton for punishment?
I'm a true glutton for punishment. As soon as I heard about this, I went in head first with both of them. I intended, matter of fact, that was the first question I had, with Jason and his team, was like, can I do this separately? Because I have two accounts. I mean, so I have, like, I've always had the Lone Wolf Comics one, because I've always used Pledge Manager with my Kickstarters. So that's something that I've always had. But then, like, when I decided to do the Wolfpack Pups, I made that a separate account through Kickstarter as well, because of the difference in audiences, and I wanted to kind of keep them separate. And then I had that second account through Pledge Manager on, Backerkit. So, I already had the two accounts, and then I ran my first Backerkit for the Snowpaw plushie last February during their Pintopia plush event with you as my collaborator. So I was like, all right, well, I already can basically just transfer this stuff for Wolfpack Pups. So that's basically done.
Yeah.
And it was a matter of then, okay, well, if I can keep it separate and allow me to do two campaigns instead of just the one, then I just had to focus on, okay, what am I going to do as far as like the Lone Wolf Comic stuff, because I want to not just focus on one product versus the other. I wanted to make sure that, we're doing collection bundles. They could either get all of the Snowpaw or all of Night Wolf, or get the entire Lone Wolf Comics collection to get all the options. But I also didn't want to do, it wasn't like a new issue. So I couldn't be like, hey, this is issue 10 and all its covers, and then you can go back and get, the other covers. So I kind of kept it a little more bare bones with that one. So I kind of had to pick and choose a little bit more, which, like I said, having the Wolfpack Pups practically done gave me the time to focus on the Lone Wolf Comics one and figure out my strategy for that.
Yeah. And so, it's always curious. Like, I'm curious what Backerkit's sort of expectations or hopes or things for this, but it's kind of cool. Like 162 projects jumped into this, and they've raised, they're probably closing in on $500,000 raised collectively. And, that's funding that presumably wasn't going to happen, or at least wasn't going to happen on their platform. And so I'm betting they think that this was kind of a win.
I would think so. I can only imagine that they're, learn from this and do more events like this, and maybe not just a holiday one, or maybe do one leading up to Easter, or a summer blowout.
Yeah. So now that you've had a couple of, before I ask my next question, one of the cool things about the Backerkit platform that they've been able to sort of lean into a little bit is that cross promotion, collab project focus, and you have a couple of those going. We did a cool one with the Seas for Cthulhu Pintopia one. There's a cool two versions of a pin that includes Cthulhu and your Wolfpack Pups, which I thought was that was a fun thing to just orchestrate and to pull together. What are the cross collab projects that you're doing for these campaigns?
Yeah, so for the Lone Wolf Comics holiday special, I'm teaming up with In Symmetry Creations, Matt Knowles and Steph Cannon. They have their own collection of comic books that includes their kids' stuff as well as their teen stuff. I think this is their official first attempt at Backerkit. So, for those of you out there watching, definitely go check their stuff out. They have music involved in it as well. Our collaboration is I believe that they have 3 of their songs that are either theme songs or tracks that are not available through their music that they usually put out along with their books. And I'm also, if everybody backs both campaigns, they will get my theme song for Nightwolf, which is from my old band Crimson Dawn. It's a song called Shadows that I wrote with one of my friends who had passed away 20 years ago. And it's still a great song. I still find myself bobbing my head to it when I watch my videos.
You got to be your own number one fan, man.
What could I say? We were ahead of our time.
And then you have one for Wolfpack Pups too?
Yeah. So this one actually was through the matchmaking in Discord, the channel that Backerkit set up for the event. And because I didn't have anyone that I knew that was ready to do something similar. And this one isn't exactly similar, but like it's a gaming one. It's a fantasy one. So what they're offering is a free mystery coin that goes along with their gaming set. And I am offering a free print, which is either a physical or digital. So you'll get the 5x7 print, and I'll sign it. Or if you're backing digitally, then you will get the digital wallpaper version of that print.
Yeah. And that is one of the cool things about the Backerkit platform is that when they do these events, they do have matchmaking abilities such that if you're not going in with a cool collaboration idea, I know when I was participating with Pintopia, they had a pretty strong Discord channel that people were making connections on and setting this stuff up in advance. So it's cool that you're able to do that. It gets you in front of some new audiences that you wouldn't otherwise reach.
Yeah, and awesome, they're very supportive on there too. I mean, if you have questions that like the team can't get back to you on quickly, I mean, you could ask it there. And I mean, like a lot of the creators are very active there on Discord.
Yeah. So now that you've had a couple of Backerkit crowdfunding experiences under your belt, but also you've continued to launch on Kickstarter, how are you thinking about like heading into 2026, Backerkit, Kickstarter? Which platform is better? Which platform should creators be on? Should creators be on both platforms? Like where's your head at?
I mean, I definitely think that they should be on both. I think the events are very helpful at building a new audience on Backerkit. And that's kind of like why I wanted to participate partially with both campaigns, because I wanted to build them both up for like being able to do new stuff there. Right now, hands down, my audience is on Kickstarter, and I built that audience up. So that's where I have to kind of go first. But I also want the ability to then say, okay, well, now that I have this on Kickstarter, I've been debating because I've done in the past, I've done the Indiegogo in demand. With my trades. Now, do I think this is a third thing, or do I just try it maybe when I have like a one-off, try it there? So I kind of have a bunch of different ideas of what I want to do, but it also depends on when the projects are ready. Versus, like I said, I kind of have to like serve the Kickstarter audience first, and then kind of like, okay, well, do I re-release it here, or do I just try a new one-off project? So that's just, up in the air.
Yeah.
I have several projects in the hopper, but right now it's still Kickstarter first.
Yeah. I'm kind of torn. Obviously this is something that I've thought a lot about, and these are so questions raised. And my sort of stock advice has kind of always been, well, if you have to choose, it's going to be Kickstarter. They have the biggest platform, and that's still the case. And there's a lot there. And then also most of the time I see creators that like launch on Kickstarter, then try to like, all right, I'm going to replace my Kickstarter launch with a Backerkit launch for a comic, and they don't necessarily see anywhere close to the same results. But I'm starting to see some creators that are able to just like, hey, we're going to go all in on Backerkit crowdfunding. And I'm thinking specifically of like CC and Mark at Our Media, and they've actually been able to have like their best launches on
I
Backerkit
saw that too, and
crowdfunding.
I was very like their last campaign for their new comic that they put out. I was very like happy for them that they've actually been able to kind of find their like community there.
Yeah. And so I think especially as Backerkit continues to do events like this, and it's probably possible that those projects will be more competitive. And then also has been shown that like if you've got your own audience, if you've got your own traction, if you've got a great product, it's still going to do very well on Backerkit, and in fact can blow up. And we've seen that with like Brandon Sanderson's launches that happened over there, as well as like so many of the big game projects that launch and crush on Backerkit. So yeah, I mean, at the same time though, like I am a big fan of like focusing and not you like being like, we want to be great wherever we are. It's like there's so much that we can do now, right? I'm and the distractions everywhere. So participating in this, or your own online shop, or you got Rob Liefeld selling tens of thousands of copies of Youngblood on Whatnot, and you got I've seen some creators that are like moving books on their TikTok stores, and so figuring out where to be and how to be there seems like there's no shortage of options, and in fact there's only becoming more options. And so I know you're someone that is in a lot of places. I'm curious, like, what are you focusing on right now? And are there particular planks that you're hoping to experiment with, even beyond things like the Backerkit holiday market? Like what and then what might have to like not get as much attention, or what might you have to let go of in order to pursue some of the new things? Just curious.
So I mean, right now with my 26 schedule, I'm planning on launching the next Wolfpack Pups just for like the pins. I'm going to do some new pins to kind of keep going with some more of the plushie stock and the book. I'm going to do that in the Pintopia because they're doing that again this year in 26. So I've already been working on that as well. So that'll be like the January, February launch for the Wolfpack Pups. But I also will be having Nightwolf 11 coming out around the same time on Kickstarter. So that's, of course, that may shift depending. I'm actually working with David Byrne to do a crossover with Snowpaw and Jessame from his Stake series.
Yeah.
So we're going to be doing that. Potentially that, like I said, might kind of take the place of the Nightwolf, or maybe one after the other, depending on like where each project is. So it's going to be like one or the other is going to launch on Kickstarter next. And then I have the Volume 1 collection for Snowpaw that will be in the spring for sure. And then issue 12 of Nightwolf, and that will close the first story arc of Nightwolf, and I'll have a Volume 3 shortly after that. So for me, I'm focusing on getting to that point this year. So I'm hoping to put 2 more trades out by the end of the year, 26. And then at that point, I think it's going to be, okay, well, do I take a break from Nightwolf and Snowpaw and attempt one of my other titles? Still kind of in the air on that, or whether I should just keep riding the coattail and, just keep putting out Nightwolf as I've planned. Because it's not an end. I mean, it's the end of the first story arc. And the same with Snowpaw. Like I planned it to be able to continue both series.
Now I know you. I remember you had written like way ahead. Are we close to caught up to like
and
scripts?
issue 12 is the last fully written script, but it's also like a 32 pager instead of a 24.
Yeah.
So that's an extra sized issue because there's just so much that happens in that last issue that I didn't want to split it into a 13th because I wanted it to be a true like 12 issue collection.
Yeah.
And then I've already started writing issue 13 and I know where I want to go with it. I just, again, it's finding the time to sit down to start doing it. So it's like, at that point, I'm like, all right, well, I'm back to writing on the fly now. What project's going to take precedence?
Yeah. It's and that is the challenge with the more different projects that you have, the more everything needs its own communication structure, its own. Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. Conventions. So, I see on your Facebook pages and stuff, like you always got a strong convention presence. You're dealing with stuff that I think, there was a time you can remember it was like, I've got this one book trying to sell. Now it's like, how do I squeeze every drop of space on this table and not leave and try to not leave money on the floor. But what are you seeing in terms of conventions in 2025? Like, because I did 3 kind of smaller shows this year, all one-day shows, so I was not, 10 toes down on conventions this year, but I happen to like do more conventions than I have in the past couple of years just because it hasn't been a big focus of mine. And then the pandemic and everything, but I did 3 small shows. I don't know if it's, if my sample size is sort of indicative of like con culture in 2025, but I'm just curious, like, are there trends? Are there, how did it go for you this year? Are there, what's the pros? What's the cons? What are you seeing for someone that, does a few more shows than me?
Yeah. I mean, I've been all over the board this year. I've had my best and I've had my worst that I've had in a long time. So again, I think it depends on the show. It depends on your location in the show. And it depends on the location of the show. You know what I mean? For example, Motor City Comic Con, if you ever get a chance, Tyler, I highly suggest it. It is very comic book centric and very friendly. It's a great show. Those people love their comics and they love their variant covers. So that's my best show, consecutively. And that's the May one. I haven't done the November one, but the May one is definitely a great one to get into. And then, I went to Terrificon thinking that I've heard great things about it, and not to knock it, because I know there were other people having a great show. I paid for an end cap, and I think they overbooked them. I was dead center of Artist Alley in between 2 other end caps, which that's not an end cap.
Yeah, that's a center.
Yeah. So and the other problem was that we were on the edge of Artist, in the middle on the edge, right where like the vendors started. They blocked an entire row that couldn't even get to us because the vendor had taken up so much space. So they essentially made kind of a pit that you couldn't really access unless you walked from behind the other side of Artist Alley. So I didn't have a great show. I almost broke even, which usually I do break even or do better. Yeah. So I wasn't exactly thrilled with that, and thrilled that they overbooked it. I may give it another couple years before I actually try that one again. But again, that it's your location, how they treat you at the con, I think is a big part of that. Foot traffic, being able to get to each aisle is key.
Yeah. I can remember a convention we did in Baltimore one time, and it was like Greg Capullo, Scott Snyder's Batman from New 52 had just dropped, and they were like right around the corner from us, and the line that would just it was basically just blocking our entire our entire table, and so we're sitting there like trying to pitch, just people waiting in line to get their
Hey, while you're there,
because like there's nothing else we could do.
Yep.
But yeah, it makes a big difference. Cash, is cash dead at conventions? Because I'll tell you what, like I did a convention on Saturday, and I think one person paid in cash the entire time, and it was like, you know, and but this was the first time where most people didn't even lead with a credit card. They're just like, I have my phone. I want you to charge my phone.
Right? Tap.
Or like either tap my phone or Venmo or, you know, Apple Pay. Like it's definitely someone that, yeah, like it's night and day. Cause I used to like my thing is, oh, I'm gonna go to the bank. I'm gonna get $200 worth of change so that I can make any combinations. I'll be the guy with change. And now it's like, what a waste. What a waste of time.
Well, yeah, I think that too, that depends on your location and the size of the con. I've noticed that the bigger ones that I've had more card transactions. And then, but like, it's still like kind of like a 60-40.
Yeah. I think like, it probably also depends, like, who are you selling to? Like if you're selling to like the old school dealers or collector types that show out with like the fat roll of cash, or are working a lot in cash, and like, you know,
or whether they spent all their money on Jason Momoa.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, but it's small. The last two cons I did last weekend and the weekend before. So I was at the Akron Comic Con 2 weekends ago, and a local show here in my hometown of West Middlesex. Both of those were cash is king, which was great. But I also think there was less, because they're both really small shows. There's less vendors to throw their money at. So, and they didn't have like celebrity draws who were taking, you know, because now like the celebrities are charging so much for, you know, to meet them, and then so much for a selfie, and so much for a signature, you know. So I think that kind of also plays a part of it.
Yeah. It's interesting. And then in terms of like just stuff that's selling on the floor, anything new or anything jumping out of you, it's like, wow. Like, I mean, I can remember, you know, several years ago, I was just baffled by like the blind box phenomenon, but then experimented with a little bit. And it was like, oh, this actually kind of worked. Anything new that you're seeing on just doing the convention things, or people asking about, or product in particular that's like doing well for you?
Yeah, I mean, the trades for sure. Those are like my number one sales anymore. So for me, like I said, I can't wait till I get those 2 new trades. And that kind of goes back to your, you know, comment about like filling everything on the table. Once I get those trades, will be able to kind of dial back the amount of space that I'm using. Because my plan is to like maybe bring just like the standard issues for the people who want to be able to just get the singles, and maybe a variant or two, or have like a long box where they can kind of, you know, flip through for the variants, saving space on a table for then to focus on the trades, and to be, because people, I see this more and more. People want to be able to get big chunks to be able to read. Yeah, especially if they're new to a series, they'll either pick up the first trade, or they want to like just give me it all. You know, it's kind of like that Netflix mentality. You know,
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of the kids that are growing up now, like when you and I were growing up, our first exposure to comics was, you know, 20-page issues, 22-page issues
on the spinner racks,
off the spinner racks, and a lot of kids' first exposure to comic like stuff is Dogman, where these 100 and some odd page, you know, collections. So I can definitely see where that would come from, and wanting that nice chunk, and you know, having those hardcovers or softcover collections can definitely come in handy there. Yeah, so this is I mean, some cool stuff here. So we talked crowdfunding, we've talked conventions. Like, anything else that you are pursuing or checking out? I mean, coming up on 12 issues. I know it's been a while since we talked like retail distribution, direct market play. Diamond is collapsed-ish since then. There's new distributors pumping up. Is that still something that you're thinking about at all, or is that where you're at with that?
Yeah, so I've been kind of watching that like a hawk. I'm glad I didn't pull the trigger when I was thinking about it. Because that, that would have been, then I would have been caught in that whole diamond, creator situation. I am actively looking at options for bigger publishers than myself, to kind of maybe, since they already have those relationships with like Lunar or other companies. So now with Snowpaw, I have options. But once I get to issue 12 with Nightwolf, then I'll have the ability to, put out those single issues as well as have those trades in hand to be able to do that. I actually was talking to Dirk Manning, who is now the head publisher at Source Point Press.
Yeah, I was actually the first spot that came to mind was because I had recently had a chat with Dirk. So yeah, I'm curious how that went, or what was he talking about? Like they're focused on trades, right?
Yes. Yeah. So I actually, I've known him on Facebook for a while, but I met him in person at Akron. So that was the first chance I had to.
Did he do one of these for you?
Yeah. So I actually kind of talked about it with him, and he wanted me to send my stuff directly to him rather than go through their typical stuff, because he had been watching me and vice versa.
Yeah.
So last weekend, before he had another con last weekend as well, so I when I had the time, I sent him Snowpaw 1 through 4 and the first 2 volumes of Nightwolf. We're kind of like the way they like to do their trades is they prefer to have it either with their, with the Source Point Press, and I could also have my insignia on there as well.
Yeah.
But with Nightwolf, since they've already been printed, we either have to go to the options of reprinting or just send as is. And I think that he mentioned something about putting a sticker or something on. I'm not sure how that would work. But with Snowpaw, I did mention to him that we have the opportunity to kind of go to print. And I was thinking, I would do my hardcover, my standard soft cover, and I was kind of pitching to him that I usually put extras in my stuff to make them more collector savvy. Mm-hmm. I was thinking, with them, because I imagine they keep the price points lower for retailers, that we could just do, a straight collection of the first 4 issues with maybe a little bit of extra content, with the Source Point Press to kind of make it different from the Kickstarter stuff.
Yeah. I'm also thinking, just spitballing, if you did have to go back to print, perhaps the Source Point Press you could even do those, like I'm thinking for Nightwolf, you like the more digest size ones. Like mm-hmm. I know Joe Schmalke from 7 Years in Darkness, and then I just got Eric Palicki's Atlantis Wasn't Built for Taurus, and they're doing like the slightly smaller, like 6-inch one, mm-hmm. and it's kind of like the size that a lot of books in bookstores are now. Some manga stuff and but some of the other just like YA stuff is like that size. And that could be another way to potentially keep costs down a little bit, mm-hmm. but also like, hey, it's a new version and it's just for them. Right. I don't know if you're trying to like move the trades that you have.
I mean, I still have stock, but I'm also like, okay, well, volume 1, I should have enough to do a volume 3 with it. But do I have enough to do a fulfillment of retail and that? You know what I mean? That's kind of what I'm like. Maybe it's better to go to print again. It's like, I have to kind of crunch the numbers with them. And like I said, I was gauging his thoughts on that in the email. I'm waiting for him to respond. If he doesn't get back to me by this week, I was going to kind of reach out and kind of feel where he was at. But that's one option I was looking at, was Source Point Press with the trades. Other options that I was thinking about, I know that Antarctic does this with singles. they, you know, I think they've worked with Tom Hutchinson with his Critter series, as well as I know that JD Calderon was looking to do something with them as well with Oswald. So, you know, it's kind of, like I said, I have my options. I just, depending on, you know, which way it goes with it. And, you know, right now with SourcePoint, it's, you know, creator owned still. And then like what it's 50% of what they sell, you know, they get and then you get, you know, so that's me, I feel should be a standard deal. I can't imagine anyone taking something worse.
Well, it is comics.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I had a conversation with the folks at Prana Direct Market Distribution. That was Adam Freeman last week, and he's sort of like talking about how, and one of the things he said is just independent creators should sort of see the direct market as brand building first and foremost, meaning not the direct place where you're, you know, generating, you know, you're expected to generate revenue or profit. And it's tough though, because it's like, oh, well, if the direct market is, that's for brand building, and conventions are very hard to break even, so that's for brand building, and you know, the Kickstarters are breaking even. Like, wait a minute, where exactly is you know, is the profit in the business stuff? And so yeah, it's, I mean, since, you know, I think this is something that every creative field and every creative person sort of will deal with, right? You know, but yeah, it's an interesting time, because, you know, even I look at some of our earlier diamond sales and things like that, where I was complaining about them back in the day, and it's just like, oh, you know, there's a lot of
now gone are the days.
Be killing for those numbers of like a few thousand copies sold, like, you know, versus like, you know, whatever's coming out of them there. Or like, yeah, I mean, this happened the other day. Like, I got you know, we did a small, you know, solicit through Diamond, even post bankruptcy, because they're still, you know, taking and soliciting books. And it's like, the order comes back, and I was actually relieved the order wasn't that big, because I'm like, I don't even know if you guys are going to pay this damn thing.
Yeah, right.
And then yeah, so I don't know. It's a weird time, and then we also have like these pop-up ways to get through the new Lunar catalog, but now like all of those have like listing costs associated with them, or monthly costs associated with just being in that catalog,
and requirements to make sure that you're on time every month too. Yeah.
So, you know, figuring it all out, and what makes the most sense, I think, is just going to continue to be a challenge for creators.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, that's, you know, when we first met each other, I was like, oh, someday I'm going to switch my careers. I'm going to, you know, I'm a part-time comic book creator, but I'm going to make that my full-time. Haven't been able to make that transition yet, but I'm still here.
You're still in there, and you know, there is some security in and remembering like the ability to be able to do this is, you know, I don't know. You can't feel too bad about that when you see like the biggest names in comics, like Scott Snyder, like he's still teaching his classes and doing his other stuff, even if he's like on the biggest title in the world right now.
Yeah,
so,
it's like being in the music industry. You can't just make songs anymore and go on tour. You actually have to like sell, you know, colognes and apparel and
host game shows, basically. You know, like you got like one of the biggest country artists in the world, man. You know,
you got to have those side hustles and not just one.
Yeah. So, you know, and one of those side hustles right now is flipping stuff for the holidays, and so hopefully, like, the holiday market is a success. It seems like, you know, and the other cool thing is like you've got these sales running right now as a part with the Backerkit holiday market, and it's not even Black Friday yet. So to, you know, make, you know, a few $100 in in early December sales, and for product that's already paid for, that's already in stock, that all you got to do is pack and ship. I think that's a cool use of the crowdfunding platform that already has some, an ecosystem, some goodwill, the ability to message backers and things. Have you one question I have, and if we've got any folks tuning in live, they have questions for Rob about participating in Backerkit's holiday market or anything related to comics, crowdfunding, etc., please let us know, and we'll be sure to ask it. But how have you approached the communication of this to your audience and the communication volume, and how does that compare to when you're in the middle of a make or break Kickstarter launch? You thought about how judicious to be about how to promote this, and in a way, or was that a concern or something that you've had to think about?
So the timing of everything was real fast. I had to get everything done. Plus, we had just come, I was going on vacation and then coming back in the middle of setting this up. So I didn't have a lot of runway to promote it like I would have one of my new campaigns. So I didn't do the countdown I didn't do a whole lot of, I did do some Backerkit launch emails. I posted here and there on social media. I'm trying to do a once a day post social media. I have plans to do, kind of continue to hit my email list and the launch lists throughout the campaign. But what's weird about this is that I only have so much to really promote about it. More so promoting the discounts or what's available, less say, because you can't do new stuff or new bonus rewards that you're throwing in. You have to kind of have stuff that's in stock. So that's something that I've been kind of having to work around.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, things like mini prints or stuff, local printers, stuff that can come in a week.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get that as a potential, limiting thing. It's oh, I could do this or I could do that. And it's
yeah, because really usually I have a bonus reward for the full moon or what other random milestones, I'm doing. So this is kind of different one because you can't, since this is the first time, you don't know how to judge starting off.
Yeah.
So it's kind of okay, well, since this is a first time gig for this, you just kind of have to go at it, and there's no real milestones that you're trying to hit. This is just, on top of, like you said, the stuff that's already been paid for. Now you're just kind of, selling your stock. So it's kind of hard to play that same crowdfunding game. At this point, it's kind of okay, well, it's kind of like advertising a web store and during the holidays, and it's really what I'm doing.
Yeah. And at the very least, it's something that you've been on before, so your audience should be somewhat familiar with. And, as we often say, anytime you're trying something new when it comes to sales and marketing, it's a test. Hopefully you're going to learn some things from it. You're going to find things that worked, things that didn't work, and ways that you can get a little bit better at it. And that's kind of what it's really all about. So, this is fun, Rob. I'm glad to hear that you're participating in it. I did see it, and I thought for a hot second about it, but then I was also you know what? We've got too many other things going, and it would be a little bit too much. But I'm glad that you were participating in it and come on and talking to me, because I did think, just from a idea perspective, in the crowdfunding space, it's on brand for Backerkit. They're sort of willing to move fast, break things, try some stuff out. If it doesn't work, well, it doesn't work. We'll pivot. That's sort of as the sneaky minority position of the market. They have the ability to sort of take some chances that maybe Kickstarter has been less willing to over the years. And it seemed and a platform that does seem definitely a lot more flexible.
It really is. It really is. I'm shocked at some of the bobbing and weaving that they can do. I mean, for example, with this, you didn't have to have a minimum. right? So like I didn't have to set like a $300 or $1. They like turned that off.
Yeah.
So that's something that they're just like, all right, well, we'll just set up your store and then we'll take care of that. You know what I mean? Like, so it was like great that they could just easily go in there and make their changes. Cause I mean, I think a lot of the people who are actively involved in helping you are a lot of the developers too. Like I think they're hands-on, like more so than like with Kickstarter, they have reps, right? They're not the coders. They're not the product developers.
Well, also, and Jason Fury, who I know does a lot of these events, like he's got his own line of like pizza pins and things that, so he's like organizing and interacting and marketing. And then also he's in there with other folks. Launching
I mean,
projects.
he's very hands-on too. Like, I mean, it's nice to be able to have that connection with him and talk to him through things.
Yeah. Well, anything else, Rob, we need to hit up on or talk about, or something that you're thinking about, or while you're here that you want to bring up?
I mean, I can't really think. I mean, we talked about a lot of stuff. My plans for next year, cons, the holiday market, my crossover comic. I mean, that's like I said, that's a big thing for me coming up. And yeah, I mean, I can't really think of much.
Well, awesome, man. I appreciate you sharing your insights and chatting with me today. And I wish you best of luck with both the Lone Wolf Comics and the Wolfpack Pups holiday market specials over on Backerkit. It's a cool initiative, a smart idea, I think, for Backerkit, and for the right creators with the right product in stock. It seems to be already off to a decent start. So congrats on that, and thanks for sharing your insights.
Well, thank you. Thank you again for having me on. It's been great catching up.
Yeah. And everyone else out there, thank you for tuning in, for catching this live or the replay. And we can't wait to see what you all launch next. Take care, everybody.